Or we, yeah, I'm gonna watch the video before I start this shit.
What is going on, Stallions and Stallionettes? You might have picked yourself up D2R, Diablo 2 Resurrected. It is a hell of a fun game, but there are some settings that you should immediately go into the menu and change to get the best experience out of this bad boy. I don't know why it's bad or why it's a boy, but let's get it.
I don't know why it's bad or why it's a boy. It's a cool intro.
Alright, Stallions, even before we get into the settings menu, what I want you guys to do is hit enter to open the chat menu and type in /FPS and hit enter. That will get your frames per second as well as your internet ping in the top left. And as you can see, as I'm running around, granted there's not a whole lot of action on the screen, not a lot of enemies or NPCs, but my frame rate is at a nice locked 60. Pressing escape over here, going to options. I have a separate video going over just the video settings, as this is not
It's playing at 1440.
Nice.
Nice.
With 3080s and 3090s, like myself, that are seeing chugging and even in some severe cases, overheating hardware, crashing, and freezing. I haven't experienced those last three, luckily just the frame rate chugging, but I do have a separate video that will be linked in the description below that goes over just the graphical settings in-game as well as some Windows 10 optimizations that do fix the game. Now, I recommend turning item label display to toggle, as where default it is on hold, so that way you can literally just turn it on and off on the fly, because there are going to be situations or scenarios where you're going to want to see literally a label of all the loot that is on the ground without hovering over it. So 90% of the time when I'm playing D2R or even D2 back in the day, I have loose floor loot labeled. Auto gold pickup. This is a real nicety. I recommend leaving it on. It is on by default, and basically it does just that. You are able to run over gold and pick it up instead of having to click on every loose piece of gold on the ground. It is a huge time saver. Now, granted, it is a little bit wonky, I would say, or not very sensitive. You do have to run directly over those coins. You have to literally be slip sliding on top of those shekels to pick them up.
Slip sliding on top of those shekels.
To play online with your buddies, leave that on. Now, these are all nicety features that have been added to D2 to make them a little bit more forgiving and user-friendly. I do recommend leaving show item tooltip button prompts. When you are hovering over an item, it does give you little tips, and by default, these three are off. I recommend turning all of them on, because as you can see, I have my life and my mana, and also if I was using a throwing weapon such as a spear or throwing knives, I would also have an ammunition count on screen as well. I really do recommend turning life on, because that way you can get an idea as to exactly how much HP you have and how quickly it is dropping, so you know.
Yeah, at least I'm on the right track. I did turn that shit
I
on.
can understand turning that off. For example, I'm a barb. I don't really use mana all that much for my abilities, so I can understand leaving this off, but me personally, I do like a visual representation of both my life and my mana. Same thing with ammo count. Nothing is more frustrating than running out of throwables and not knowing that you're out of throwables until you are getting your titties slapped around. Show clock. Don't really see a need for this. As long as you own a clock in your house or you have a cell phone next to you, you can see what time it is. Now, accessibility over here.
I like show clock.
So
do you have your clock on in WoW?
You just don't have your glasses on you and don't want to grab them because you're really enthralled with D2R. You can bump this up to large, and it does make everything easier to read. Some people get motion sickness from video games. Granted, this isn't a fast motion first-person shooter or racing game or fighting game or something like that, but there are some times when your character's getting attacked and it sways the screen back and forth, and by turning camera shake off, it can alleviate some of those issues if you do get a little bit woozy. Attack miss indicator, that's off by default. I like to turn it on. It puts a little white X. It puts a little white X on screen every time you miss an attack, so you know, well, I didn't get the damage output that I wanted from that attack. Subtitles, in most games, I leave subtitles off, but with D2 and D2R, I just leave it on. I would leave this off. This is basically when you walk by NPCs in the villages or common areas, you see the same message popped up every time you walk by them. If you're a controller player, I strongly recommend turning this on. Weapon swap separation its skill buttons, and what this does is basically gives you separate bindings for when you do swap weapons. So as you know, you have 2 sets of weapons that you can have equipped at once or on the fly ready to switch. And when you do switch them, it changes all your skill bindings as well. So for a controller, which is already limited in bindings compared to something like a keyboard, that's useful. I would turn that on. Now, as for the auto map, this is completely preference, but I would recommend that you either make it a mini map in the top right or left, or if you are going to have the full size map, the full screen map in the middle, that you do set a custom opacity and make it about 40 or so, because that way it's not very intrusive if it is going to be in the middle of the screen. Me personally, what I've been doing here recently, and it's been working out good for me, is having it in the top left or right on auto, like that. Works for Mountain Dew. Thank you for the sub, big dog. All 4 of these should absolutely be turned on. It's simply common sense that when you open the map, you want it centered on your character. You don't want it looking down the hall, down at Diagon Alley. You want it over your actual character. Show party members. Yeah, you want to know where your friends are at. So if they're getting slapped around 6 waves from sundown, you can back them up. Show character names. Again, if you're playing with a party with friends, you probably want that on. And then this one right here, if you are a streamer or YouTuber, you're either live streaming or you're screen recording for YouTube, especially live streaming, I do recommend that you turn this one off because it has your game name and password, so anybody on the internet can literally be trying to join your game. Now over here in controls, now I get that this is an RPG, it's not some fast-paced FPS or BR where you need to have all your keybinds right there, but I don't like to really reach across my keyboard to hit I for inventory and whatnot. So as you see over here, pretty much the left 1/3 of my keyboard is what is used here to basically just keep my left hand sitting in one spot on the keyboard and be able to hit everything instead of having to reach across my entire keyboard to hit things. Also, what I did is I have the bottom row of my keyboard, so Z through M, well actually through comma, bound to different abilities. Now, interesting thing about this game that I don't necessarily like is, unlike a lot of other RPGs or MMOs, you can't just press a keybind for an ability or a spell and have it pop off. It basically, let's say I hit spacebar right now. Now, if I press spacebar, it basically just changes the function of the left or right mouse click. You still have to click left or right mouse click. You can't just press a keybind and have it actually do the action. I get that maybe that's because they want you to be able to click on exactly where you want them to perform the ability, but if you're facing an enemy or something and you want to quickly be able to press spacebar to back,
that's different now.
Barb abilities.
That's an option they added.
As for run, I do have it on a toggle. It is shift, so I can quickly hit it with my pinky. Toggle it on, so I don't have to sit there and hold it. You are going to be running a lot to get to your destinations for your quests, and obviously you're going to be using a lot of stamina potions, especially early game when your stamina's low as hell. But I do recommend having your sprint on a toggle, not a hold. And then right next to my sprint toggle, if I hold down control, he stays stationary, so that's good. If he keeps moving around when I'm trying to attack a single enemy, I can hold down control with my pinky and just click on that enemy that I'm trying to attack. So you definitely want to have a hold function, which makes your character stay stationary, so you can whack off those attacks accurately.
Whack off attacks.
Whack off, so you can perform adequately. Those are the settings that I do recommend that you change immediately in D2R to get the best experience, the most fluid, smooth, enjoyable experience out of D2. If this.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing?
Whoa, creep voice.
And another Diablo 2 Resurrected video. Now, when it comes to Diablo, it is all about the loot, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there's nothing more frustrating than you killing off a horde of enemies and not having the space for you to pick up your weapons or even storm back at your base. So in today's video, I'm going to go over all of the different ways where you can get yourself the maximum amount of stash and actually increase your storage space as well, so it can look something like this. So if at any given time you found this video helpful or just a little bit entertaining, please by all means follow, like, subscribe on all social media platforms, but especially on YouTube, because it helps these videos get out there in the YouTube algorithm and I'm able to give back more and I can do more giveaways, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Let's get started. Now, if your inventory and your stash looks something like this, and you don't even have a secondary weapon slot, there is a reason for this, ladies and gentlemen. Diablo 2 Resurrected has done some updating, so to speak, and it's going to involve your characters and include your stash. Now, if you have a 2 next to your character like I do right here, look down at the bottom. You can see you have some options. Select delete character, convert to expansion, new character, or back. If you convert your character to the expansion, well then some things are going to change. Now Diablo 2 has made it as possible as original to the very first game. And that includes limited stash space, so you're going to have to convert some of the other characters that are newer, like the Necromancer, and if you do that, well then you'll be able to have your secondary weapons, and it will also change your stash to look something like this. Now if you look at the top of your left hand side of the screen or the stash, you can also see shared space. As long as you create a new character, well then you'll be able to have that shared space for you to use. Now it is pretty cool, so I went ahead and created myself a few more other characters for me to play with, all because I want that extra storage space, so when I do play with them, they'll be able to be ahead of the game, so to speak. So here we are on our newly created Sorceress, and yeah, everything's look good. Our inventory is there, and our shared space is here as well. We have personal and we have shared. Okay, so this is pretty cool, and this is something new that they added in.
Okay, this is what I need to watch. Cool intro. I don't know how you managed to get the Diablo font in After Effects or whatever.
What's up YouTube, Mr. Lamessy here, and today we're going to be talking about item bases, upgrading items, and what sort of bases you kind of want to look out for, because I know a lot of people.
He has a Herodric cube right here.
Oh, I got that by the way on my character.
Did you?
Yeah,
confused.
you just have to go do like a quest. Some shit.
Weird.
They run around and they say, is this a good base, right? It drops, and this is a cryptic axe. Do I want that?
Do, like,
is it ethereal? Is it not?
Or whatever, like max it out to its full potential for all your shit.
On what do I need to do? So I'll go ahead and try and dive into all that and give you a little bit of an idea. So the first thing that I want to talk about is
cheap
how
Amazon
bases
boom
work.
arms are just
Okay,
so
so you have
fucking popular.
3 different base types
What?
for everything.
This cheap
right?
Amazon
You're going
boom
to have
arms.
normal,
Mike boom arms.
exceptional, and elite, and I will give you a nice example of this so you can see it.
Yeah,
These are
like
going to be
it's
your
like- I have the
3
exact-
right here.
Yeah, everyone
So
has
for
this
instance, let's go ahead and take a normal pole arm, and let me actually go
his
in
headset's
and
intriguing,
show this
though.
to you guys. I think this will be the easiest way.
Sorry.
Not gonna sell me one here. All right, let's go to normal real fast. So each of these, every item in the game basically is going to have a normal type,
Dude, his
an
shirt.
exceptional type, and an elite type. And it is literally just going to be the same thing, but with higher stats and a different name.
See, this is
So
the
for
problem.
instance-
This is my inventory right now. Like, I got the 2 tomes, a bunch of fucking shit that makes you better, and then I have no room to fucking mine.
Since a bardiche
Yeah.
is the
Well,
lowest
you turned it off,
form
so I turned it
of this pole arm, this type of pole
What the hell,
arm.
man?
Okay,
Wait, what?
so you
What's
have
up?
this. You can get this
Did
in
you delete
normal.
that VOD?
When this
No. Why?
You should, because you know why.
Dude,
Why- Come on, man, please. Don't fuck around with shit like that. and just
oh,
leave it.
weird. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't think quoting rap lyrics is gonna. You need to be streaming. You need to be streaming your WoW fucking shit, man.
So,
Oh, Twitch is being weird. Oh no, it's working. What the fuck?
bro, you have too many dumb fucking Never mind.
What do I have? No, send it up. What do I have?
No, I thought that was your fucking inventory, and I was like, bro, you have too many fucking random weapons.
Oh, yeah, these? Yeah, no, I do. I literally do have these. These are like stat modifiers that you have to keep in your inventory. You have to keep them to get the stat modifiers. So, like, I have no room. I'm like this guy right now. So, hopefully we'll figure out a way to fix that.
Rolls for a unique, it's going to be the
Sounds like a pretty serious design flaw.
Demox Hue.
They're just trying to be
believe.
classic. It's like classic Diablo, you know?
Yes.
It's original.
Demox Hue is the unique version of this, and we can show that to you right over here. There is Demox Hue. This is a unique Bardiche, right? Not every single item has a unique form, but this one does right here. Now, additionally, if you go ahead and go to the exceptional version of this, there is a Ogre Axe, however you say it, and it is the same exact thing, but it has a higher level requirement, a higher strength requirement, does more damage, but the same thing, right? And the Meat Scraper is going to be this version, and I can show you this right here. Once again, it looks the exact same, but this is the exceptional version of this. Lochaber, whatever it is, right? This is the exceptional, unique version of this. Same graphic is probably the best way to say it. And then lastly, you're going to have the Ogre Axe, and that is going to be the final form of this graphic. And I can just show you right there. Here's your Ogre Axe. And once again, a higher level requirement, strength requirement. This has a dex requirement, higher damage on it, all of that stuff. This is the elite form of that graphic right there. And if we head over here, Bone Hue is going to be the elite version of this. Okay.
Oh, that's
So
not a problem.
that is just the basics.
They don't have a good,
how
like,
do they work? How
way
are your
of,
basics,
like,
right?
telling you what
Normals,
shit's
exceptionals,
good.
and elites. And this is true for pretty much every single item in the game. You're going to have this sort of way. There are a few exceptions. We need to talk about that. That is the general rule of thumb right there. So, with that being said, you are going to be looking for specific bases depending on the character and basically depending on what sort of stuff you want to have at the end, right? But along the way, it's what you want along the way. So when I'm starting out, I'm grabbing like a leather armor, a quilted armor, right? Just some of these normal low-level armors that are light armors, because armors actually have a difference there, and that's something I do want to show. So let me go to Elite Armors real fast.
Pretty much every single game.
There
Every
is a
single
light,
day.
medium, and heavy for armors, and these have run walk penalties if they're medium or heavy. So a lot of people like using light armors so that they don't get that penalty. Just a fun little thing to note. A lot of people, I don't believe, know that. The same thing is to be said for the shields as well. You come over to the shields, and it's just going to take a second to load. But shields also have a penalty. I believe it's 5% for medium and 10% for heavy, if I'm not
What's this
mistaken.
website this guy's using?
And so here again, light, medium, and heavy shields. So this can be very good to know, because obviously having this is going to have an effect.
That was like the
on your
longest
character.
video for him
So a
to
lot of
say
people
that.
aim for these light shields and light armors, which is
What
why
was
you
it?
see those basic.
What did he say? What you on about, man?
It's a long video, so kind of hard for me to repeat it all.
Is a little bit more desired. Now, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit more discussion about what bases we want. So like I said, when I'm playing through the game, I'm just...
I like your little tutorial you're watching.
Looking for like whatever bases. You shouldn't care too much when you're going through. Defense isn't going to matter near as much while you're playing through and doing your like solo self-found stuff. Where it really matters generally is in your end game, when you're perfecting your builds, when you're wanting to get bases that you're going to trade off, all of this stuff. This is where people are going to want certain bases. So the bases are going to be as follows. For armor bases, you're going to want Dusk Shrouds, Worm Hides, Scarab Husk, and Wire Fleece are okay. Great Hauberks are okay as well, and Archon Plates. And if you note, you'll notice that all of these are every light armor that exists. People generally are not going to want any heavy or medium armors for their characters. Okay? Archon Plate is probably the most desired, I would say. You also will want to note the strength requirements of these are pretty low.
What are you talking?
So that's what people are generally wanting.
What you on about?
No, nobody uses light heavy armor.
Oh yeah, that is interesting.
Don't talk
actually.
over him. I'm learning about Diablo.
I didn't know you were actually watching this. I thought you were talking. I thought you were watching your own thing.
For this, they don't want to get something like
even like. Yeah, it affects your walking
And so
speed.
that's what people are generally wanting for this. They don't
Here,
pretty low. Also will want to is probably generally are not going to, and Wire Fleece are okay. Where found stuff. Where it really matters generally is in your end game, when you're perfecting your builds, when you're wanting to get bases that you're going to trade off, all of this stuff. This is where people are going to want certain bases. So the bases are going to be as follows. People are going to want base at or near now armors, which is carefully for medium and 10% for heavy, if I'm not mistaken. The same thing is to be said if they're medium for armors real fast. There is a light, medium, and heavy for armors, and these have run walk penalties if they're medium or heavy. So a lot of people like using light armors so that they don't get that penalty. Just a fun little thing to note. A lot of people, I don't believe, know that. The same thing is to be said for the shields as well. If you come over to the shields, and it's just going to take a second to load. But shields also have a penalty. I believe it's 5% for medium and 10% for heavy, if I'm not mistaken.
It says BattleNet everywhere. Like it's like their own website.
And so here again, light, medium, and heavy shields. So this can be very good to know because obviously having this is going to have an effect on your character.
All right.
So a lot of people aim for these light shields and light armors, which is why you're going to see those bases a little bit more desired. Now, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit more discussion about what bases we want. So like I said, when I'm playing through the game, I'm just looking for like whatever bases. You shouldn't care too much when you're going through. Defense isn't going to matter near as much while you're playing through and doing your like solo self-found stuff. Where it really matters generally is in your end game, when you're perfecting your builds, when you're wanting to get bases that you're going to trade off, all of this stuff. This is where people are going to want certain bases. So the bases are going to be as follows. For armor bases, you're going to want Dusk Shrouds, Worm Hides, Scarab Husk, and Wire Fleece are okay. Great Hauberks are okay as well, and Archon Plates. And if you note, you'll notice that all of these are every light armor that exists. People generally are not going to want any heavy or medium armors for their characters. Okay? Archon Plate is probably the most desired, I would say. You also will want to note the strength requirements of these are pretty low, and so that's what people are generally wanting for this. They don't want to get something like a loricated mail and have to invest 149 strength.
Or Paladin,
sometimes they'll have that already for their spirit or whatever, but I mean this is a heavy armor anyways. You can get a higher defense armor that has less strength requirements and is light, so people are going to really love Archon Plates. This is like your most desired, I would say. But some people like to just have like a Dust Shroud, really have very minimal strength requirements, all of that. And then these other bases can be nice. Also note there's a pretty big range on defenses for these. So if you find a Dust Shroud or whatever it is at the very high end of the defense level, a lot of people will like that a lot more. A 361 defense Dust Shroud versus a 467 defense Dust Shroud is a decent amount of defense, especially if you put a Rune in it that's going to multiply that defense. Now, the only other base that you really will find people liking
min-maxing in this game is
a
intense.
Mage
Like,
Plate.
I just want to play the game.
And this is 55 strength, and it gets decent defense, and as a light armor. You'll see some people rock a Mage Plate Enigma for generally people who don't care about defense near as much, really just want that low strength.
Alright, I need my
You
Mage
also,
Plate.
every now and then, will see like a Breastplate
Mage
Enigma,
Plate.
which is a normal armor. And that's just 50 strength and extremely low. And once again, they don't care about defense really at all there. So that's going to be like the lowest. I wouldn't recommend keeping breastplates. You can shop a 3 open socket one from Act 1 and 2 normal. And so it's not worth like keeping. The mage plates and those other elite bases can be nice. Now, talking about bases again, going to ethereal bases, this is where you're actually going to see, I would say, any elite
Yeah, the
armor
ethereal term's been
is
around.
worth keeping in
I
an
guess,
ethereal
since
base.
Diablo.
And this is
one.
because people are giving this to their mercenary, who's going to have a lot more strength, who's going to wear that Andy's helm, which gives them even more strength, and they'll be able to wear a lot more things. So you're going to see people rocking, you know, a sacred armor fortitude or whatever it is. I would say that generally people still are going to love, you know, I mean, people love Archon plates, but Kraken shells, Hellforge plates, I mean, a lot of these still will get worn. The biggest thing is you're looking for something that has high defense. An example here is a Bone Weave, 148 strength, because it is -10 strength for being ethereal. And then I put fortitude in it. This is just a big ol' strength, big ol' like defensive piece for the mercenary. So a lot of people are going to want to make armors like this. And once again, everything on your mercenary can be ethereal because durability does not affect him. So people will like that
Interesting.
overall.
That's an interesting fact.
Now,
That's like your, like,
continuing on from there,
your pet
let's
or
go
whatever,
ahead
like
and
the
discuss
person, you
Paladin
know.
shields,
Yeah.
or just go into shields
Is
overall.
it called Mercenary in Diablo 3 as well?
Yes, and
It's 3 of them.
so
Yeah,
the most
you get to
desired
pick
Paladin
from.
shield, I would say, is a
Kind of the
Sacred
same.
Targe. This is because if you notice the percent block, it has the highest percent block. A lot of people like this. Additionally, it has the lowest strength requirement of the Paladin shields and is the elite shield.
Dude, this is
Right.
some good info.
So
This
people
guy's
really love that.
spitting
Notice all Paladin shields can get 4 open sockets max, so they're very easy to make spirits in. And you know, obviously you can find it 3 open socket if you want to make something else, right? Whatever. But this is going to generally be your most desired. Some people also like ethereal vortex shields, so they can make an exile, and it has a repair mod on it so that it won't break. And then Zachariam shields,
They
people
can't-
like these
dude, what?
for
Repair mod, it won't break?
smiting
Damn.
PVM.
What the fuck?
This is more of a PvP smite shield, and Zachariam shield generally for PVM. People like these smiting. People prefer this to be ethereal for the exile, once again, because it has that repair mod, and so you might as well. It's just free extra defense. Like, if you don't make it in an ethereal shield, you're just literally giving away the free defense because it would repair itself anyways. It will not break. So those are generally going to be your 3 most desired shields for kind of different reasons.
Easy.
But like a nice Sacred Rondich or Karash shield, if you get 4 open sockets and it has plus 45 to all resist on it, because that can roll as just a native affix, or it's not called an affix, whatever it's called, but a native piece of the shield.
Dude, this guy's
45
hardcore.
all res. People will really want that.
He's probably been
that can be
playing
super
Diablo
nice,
2,
'cause then
like,
you can make like a
before this
spirit
game
shield or
even
whatever
came
it
out.
is, and you have
People
that
still
the
have been
spirit in
playing
there,
it.
yeah, the base mod for it
Really?
in there as well.
Mm,
So you're getting the spirits res
Why don't they
plus
just
that,
play Diablo
and it's
3?
super nice. Implicit, that's what it's
I
called.
mean, they
It's
did.
called an implicit
They still, like,
mod.
I play both.
Yeah, so that covers kind of
They
the
don't fuck
Paladin
around.
shields that people are going to look for. Like I say, Ethereal Vortex Shield, Zacharium Shield,
fucking
Sacred
around.
Charge.
I mean, this dude has
Any
a
of
fucking
these
3D
with
printed
high resistances
Roderick cube
are going to be nice.
his
And if it
shelf.
has like 41, 42, 43 all res, somebody will still want that. You can still probably
Alright,
get like a
noted.
pole or whatever it is for that
Do not
because,
fuck with
hey,
this
it
guy.
still makes a nice
Like
spirit.
seriously,
or
he's
whatever.
got like right here.
So that's going to be the Paladin shields. For just generic
at?
shields,
12.
the only one that's worth keeping, right? It drops, and this is a Cryptic Axe.
I
Do
mean,
I
it's
want
not-
that? Is
I don't
it
know where he
ethereal? Is
got
it
that,
non? What
but
do I
feel like
need
it probably
to do?
wasn't cheap.
So I'll go ahead and try and dive into all of that and give you a little bit of an idea. So the first thing that I want to
yeah,
talk about
size
is
and grind.
how big.
He's grinding life to get that one.
And the reason is for this right here. This is the number of sockets that the item can get. And I want you to look at what shields can get 4 sockets. The Monarch Shield, which is a light shield with 156 strength requirement. The Aegis,
Jesus.
which is a heavy shield with 219 strength requirement. And the Ward, which is a medium shield with 185 requirement. Those are the only 3 non-paladin shields that can get 4 open sockets. Obviously, everybody wants 4 open sockets for the Spirit. And sometimes other things, Phoenix, whatever. And so people will want 4 open socket Monarch shields for the light and the lowest strength requirements right there. So that's going to be the most desired shield, and this is the only one worth keeping. Anything else, pretty much going to be trash. Yeah, there might be somebody who's like, oh, but I like having, this for a little something else and whatever. But once again, don't worry about that. This is going to be what you should focus on. And these are generally worth, once again, like Pull to or something like that, for just that being plain. And it will always socket 4 open sockets at Larzik. So, I think that covers all of the armor bases. Moving into the weapon bases, we can move first over here to axes. The Berserker Axe is the axe that people are going to want, and they'll like it ethereal or non-ethereal. And 5 open sockets or 6 open sockets is generally what people are going to be looking for with it, depending if they
when
want
you
to make
see,
a Breath
there's
of the
only
Dying,
5
if they
different
want to make
axes.
a Grief, if they want to make, I mean, there's a variety of things. A Death, if they want to make Beast. All of these different rune words are going to use basically 5 and 6
Slave.
open socket Berserker Axes, and ethereal and non-ethereal,
No, I'm kidding,
like I
man.
say,
That
are
was a
both
very
good.
lame comment
So
I made.
whether you find it white, 5
No, I
socket,
mean, there's
6
just
socket,
a million
it's all
different
really
versions
good.
of each of
If
them.
you find
but
it 4
like,
socket,
at least to
somebody
make
might
it
make some
easy,
small
like
thing
these
in
are
it,
the
but it's definitely
graphics
going
of
to
it.
be
You know,
less
there's like,
value, and then the lower you go with the sockets, the less value it has, because you're going to run out
it
of
makes it
like,
somewhat
the rune words
easy,
that
I
people
guess.
generally make
Like,
on these things.
now I know anytime I see a Berserker Axe, I should
Somebody might
probably
say they like an
grab it.
ethereal 6 open socket glorious axe for an e-botted there. I generally am not keeping that, but somebody might like it. So that covers the axes right there. If we go into swords, you're going
Did
to
you
want to
say
keep
swords?
phase blades.
Bro said swords.
People like, once again,
Bro, he said
5
swords.
open socket, 6 open socket phase blades.
Swords. He said
these are
swords.
indestructible, so they will not be ethereal, but people will make these into
This is
griefs,
not his
or they'll
first
make them into
language.
Last Wish or whatever it is.
Who's this
and this is
guy?
for the people that like to never have to repair their weapon. Smiters and stuff generally will use like a phase blade because they get that, and then they don't have to worry about repairing their weapon when they're smiting all the time. So that's going to be the only elite sword that you should keep.
Oh no, he knows. He
but
was trolling.
if you come down to, I guess, for one-handed, for two-handeds, Colossus blades
trying to
can
be
be
funny,
nice,
at
and
least.
ethereal Colossus blades. Once again, barbarians will like to make themselves deaths, or they'll like to make themselves e-botted, Breath of the Dying, or whatever it is. And so some people like this. Every now and then, I think some people enjoy like a legend sword or something. But once again, I'm not gonna say, really sticking around for these things. Like Oath can sometimes be a thing used and whatever, in those bases. But as a base that's like, yeah, Oath Balrog Blade, Oath Legend Sword, these are very niche. I don't think it's worth keeping it to trade off, but somebody might want it eventually.
I didn't think about
But
trading.
at the same time, moving down into normal swords, it is also worth keeping crystal swords, which is just the
There's no
base
auction
version
house, so
right
you'd have to,
there
like,
of your
stay in
phase
chat,
blade.
I guess.
And the reason is because people are going to want to make CTAs in this. People are going to want to put like 6 lems in it, or 6 ist in it for their like magic finding or their gold farm. I know Area Summit's just having a time today. All of that, and so when it comes back up, I'll let you guys know. All of that, and so this is going to be very nice and easy, and this is just going to be in the crystal sword. Additionally, people want to put this in a flail, so getting a 4 open socket, a 5 open socket, or for those two, or a 6 open socket for a crystal sword can be nice, because you're getting
I get a lot
CTAs,
of crystal swords. I
you're
guess I should
getting
keep
hodos,
those. They look like I should keep
just
them.
6 isted, 6 lemmed, whatever not, and it's just very easy. Oh, there we go. It finally came back.
I really want to know
Right.
what his headset is.
So that's gonna be your crystal swords, and then like I was saying before, your flail as well is going to be used for all of that.
What's the seed switch?
Lastly, with kind of one-handers, we can get into all the little exceptions, which are going to be things like
not sure.
+3 bone spear, 2 open socket wands, +3 lightning sentry
like 'em, though.
claws, things like this
Yeah.
that can be made into.
He's like being efficient without dumbing it down too much, you know? If that makes
Yeah.
any sense. I don't want to know a switch. Fuck, what was my goal here? I totally forgot what I was doing. What are you doing? What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Playing a while.
You're just like watching the stream while you're playing. Thanks, man. Thanks for
Yeah.
supporting the stream.
Of course, dude.
Yeah, see how he's got his entire inventory filled with just those fucking things. I
Yeah,
kind of
that's
do
Pretty
too. Like
whack.
they enhance your character. Like here, I'll log into my game and show you.
Good day.
They're all like, they're called charms. They add shit. They like enhance your character. It's like I can't help it. Like right now I'm stacking gold, collecting gold. Like I figured for our first character, stacking gold's probably good. But it's getting really annoying trying to figure out like what the like when you only have this much space, dude. And after I do a dungeon, there's just so much shit. Like look at all this shit, bro.
Good day.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's like one of my pet peeves, man.
I don't know what's like. I don't know what to fucking pick up and not pick up. Like fuck. Dude, crystal swords did look like. What do you mean? What's one of your pet peeves?
I don't know. My brain's like chill. Whatever you're. Oh, bag space.
Yeah. Oh, I have a Rondosh. He said Rondoshes were the most popular shield. I have one right here. It says Paladins only though. What the fuck?
Good day.
And my characters all got like. Like I like this because I use amplify and I use static field and I use ice bolt. So even though it's level 6 and I'm like almost level 20 or whatever,
Good
like
day.
this thing is really helping me out. Even though this one's probably better. Like this one's a blue, this one's gold item. But this one's just better for me right now. Man, I really gotta get better at knowing what shit is. I literally just finished like I'm literally at the end of Act 1. Like people say to wait to do this.
Good day.
It's gonna be the way. Yeah, I'm done with Act 1. I'm moving on to Act 2, man. Fuck. This game's like low-key kind of hard. Not gonna lie. Wait, I don't know. Pretty.
Oh, I know.
Not as easy
The
as-
caravan is prepared.
3.
We may now journey
Yeah.
eastward to
That's-
Loot Golain.
Believe you.
Oh shit. That's it. Act 2.
I don't
here
even
we
know.
go.
But
Firing it up right now.
fuck being in PvP, so I'm not doing.
The new cutscenes are
Traveled
fucking
east,
amazing. Like
over the mountains and into
Blizzard
the
needs to make more
vastnesses
movies,
of
man.
Broken lands. As the days passed, my companion told me of himself, that he had once been a great warrior, and that a dark and secret burden now weighed heavily upon him.
yeah. Like, come on, Camel.
We traveled
Come
for
on.
an eternity across that barren wasteland. How long?
Oh, Camel dead.
I couldn't say. And always a dark cloud seemed to follow us just over the horizon. Finally, the journey ended. We climbed the last bridge. There below us lay
You want to see the first act cutscene? It's pretty
a
interesting.
shining jewel.
Like he thinks that
With a great
Eric
sea
fuck, who's the
beyond.
angel in Diablo 3?
We made
I don't know, I
camp
forgot.
that last night.
What's his name? Fucking
Perhaps it was the warm desert wind or the sound of the ocean.
Uh,
But for the first time in many weeks, I slept.
the angel of justice or whatever.
However,
yeah, I know.
the dreams returned, but these were clearly not my own. I beheld a vision of a great man, the mage Talrasha. You were there too, Ethereal.
Ethereal. There we go.
Seeing you
Ethereal.
in my dream. His brethren had cornered a great demon, Baal, Lord of Destruction, who had been set loose upon the world.
Man, this is a good like 5-second delay in this
The
thing.
demon within a sacred stone. Yet whether attempts
That's cool. They updated the cinematics to make it look like the D3 Ethereal.
to contain the demon within himself, completing the prison. He instructed his brethren to bind him within the tomb, buried under the sand, there to wrestle with the demon for all eternity.
Wait, what? It's a fucked up ass stream, bro.
Now you know what I seek, Marius. This is my brother. Sleep now. We set out with the dawn.
Yeah, the cinematic does look good.
The next morning, we walked over the hill toward Loot Golain. I had no idea then of the horrors that were in store for me there.
Good day.
What's the button to change it? That's cool that you can switch.
Not in town.
The way they run in like the original version is so weird.
Wait, you can change it back and forth?
Yeah, you know, watching. I just did it like 5 times. Yeah.
You can. Like,
Oh,
there's
look
like
at the lighting. Look at the lighting around this tree.
Not in
Anyone
town.
playing old school? Why the fuck would you do that?
I mean, a lot of people still play the game. They did a really good job with this one.
A lot of people still play the game.
Damn, you sound so good right now. Yeah, they still play D2. The original D2. This is... I see where D3 drew its inspiration. Act 2 starts off in the desert as well. That's interesting. Let's see, I'll show you the first Axe cinematic. Like Blizzard's Overwatch, like I know it'll take a while to get you ever fucking play Overwatch, but man, the cinematics for Overwatch, dude. A lot of people really thought that was gonna be a movie.
Dude, the graphics are insane.
Yeah. It just gets me more and more hype for D4. Have you never seen any of the cinematics for Overwatch?
At last, I find you.
He thinks it's Ethereal.
Yes, now I recognize you. I should have known you'd travel in the skies. They're always watching. I've been searching for you for a long time, Marius. I was rather beginning to think you didn't want to be found. Oh, forgive me, Tyrael, please.
He's not Tyrael. He's like...
Wasn't my fault.
I'm pretty sure he's Diablo.
Your fault. Tell me, Marius, how was it not your fault?
Or at least one of Diablo's, like...
The Wanderer. Yes, it was the Wanderer.
He is the Wanderer, you dumb motherfucker. You're talking to the Wanderer.
I sought refuge from my memories in the company of other outcasts.
They're like straight up, he's like smoking opium.
Past the eastern gate.
Do you want something? It's pretty close to the original too. I'll show you the original after this. I mean, it's literally
Wait,
like...
why did he say it like that?
Word for word, the original, like close. Why do you say what?
Do you want something? Why did he say it like that?
The memories
There's a server.
would return. Memories of the
I don't know,
monastery.
you're talking over the cutscene.
The
Too
evil
long, buddy.
which had claimed dream memories. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. heels? How had he found me here? How could this broken shell of a man, barely able to carry the weight of his own sword, be the burning terror which drove me to hide here? He seemed to have demons of his own. He struggled to contain. And he was losing.
This is verbatim the original Diablo 2 cinematic. It's just like better graphics.
That I was truly mad. The terror, the destruction, the evil I witnessed. How else could I explain them? Were these the demons from my dream, or were they born?
Damn, that's pretty good. I didn't even notice that. Clearly is a necromancer. There's some sort of weird link between these two.
Why did I follow him? I don't know. Why do things happen as they do in dreams? All I know is that when he beckoned, I had to follow him. From that moment, we traveled together east, always into the east.
I missed all that. Oh, I'm on Twitch, not YouTube. Oh, it has side by side. That's so cool. I guess I should have just played this. Look how close, dude, it's literally like frame for frame. That's so cool. Even the original for back in the day is pretty good.
So much more emotion in the
The
one.
updated and the facial
Yeah.
expressions. Good catch.
Yeah.
So, Marius, at last I find you. Ethereal. Yes, now I recognize you. I should have known you'd
Yeah, they did him dirty in the old one.
I'm dirty. At the time, that was amazing.
They're always watching. I've been searching for you for a long time, Marius.
It's crazy. They
was
didn't
rather
change,
beginning
like
to
the
think you
whole
didn't
entire,
want to be found.
like line for line. It's not different.
Me, Tyrion.
That's pretty cool. I do like that.
It wasn't my fault. Not your fault. Tell me, Marius, how under is it the rogues?
Like, especially, like, I remember playing Diablo 2, and I remember this. Like, but when I first fired it up, I was like, this is the same fucking cinematic, bro.
Other outcasts high in the mountains past the
So that was kinda
eastern
cool.
gate.
Right, he's not really, oh, it's the same voice. They don't show him specifically smoking, like, opium in the original. I guess that would have been too
cool for TV.
right. I don't know. You want something? But I mean, look how fucked up he is, though. So they made up for it with like how fucked up he looks. Bro, he looks so fucked up. You're right. There's way more facial expressions.
Oh, I fought sleep for days at a time. For when I dreamt.
So they had to use like, dude, these computers that render these sort of cinematics back in the day is like basically what they use in like Terminator and shit. These were like fucking super expensive computers. I have no idea how much they were, but they were expensive. This type of computers they use for Hollywood basically to render this many like polygons and shit back then. It's like how they say like Pixar graphics were way ahead of like gaming graphics at the time, you know? Very similar. Like it's easier to just use really expensive computers to render a scene. Like this scene probably took forever to render back in the day. Whatever. I don't know if that makes any fucking sense at all.
Memories would return. Memories of the
In the day,
monastery.
it was me and you, baby.
You what?
I said back in the day, it was me and you, baby.
Did you nail that fucking like? You got like the. Like which British dialect is that? It's like I don't know. It's definitely like grungy, like Liverpool. It's Liverpool. You got the Liverpool dialect down. That's what it is. Isn't that Liverpool? Do it again. You can't do it on command, can you?
Oh, fuck
You
it.
can't.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can.
it's
Yeah, I
hard.
can.
Oh, you're
can.
like, yeah, I can. Fuck you. I can do it on command. It's like, dude, how many people are like, I'm a comedian, and they're like, tell me a joke. I feel so bad. Like, it's like, motherfucker, pay me, and I'll tell you a joke. How about that? Is that a good enough joke?
I just died on WoW and I just want to kill myself.
What'd you die? Why are you not streaming, bro? Fucking stream. You got the gear. Stream. I want to see these. I want to make vlogs, make YouTube videos, man. You're funny. Like you're just a funny dude. You just did a perfect Liverpool accent.
That's not Liverpool, but
That's not
love it, man.
Liverpool?
Appreciate it. Yeah,
What?
I don't know what it is. I don't understand.
It's like,
British people.
it's like, I don't know.
You're talking back in the day, bruv.
It's definitely like the more like cool street style dialect, not like not Cambridge, Jesus, like
They're talking about Oxford University,
yeah,
where
Oxford,
I studied
yeah,
at for over
yeah.
19 years and taught anthropology at. I tell you what, quite literally every single day of my life, I'm striving for excellence and to get better.
Chat. This is why I love this guy right here, right here. That was great. Good job.
Why would I waste my time playing World of Warcraft when I'm trying to find the cure for cancer?
Can you find the cure for the COVID, mate? I'm talking about the fucking cure for the COVID. What's, man?
Dude, this quest is stupid as fuck. Holy shit, dude.
I say, what you gonna do about COVID, man? You got a good Jamaican accent too, if I recall.
Not really.
You showed me that video about that dude making like cooking up a lobster.
Oh yeah.
That's just amazing. That dude's so fucking chill, bro. You've definitely embraced like the what's their like kind of religion? Jah.
Rastafari.
Yeah, Rastafari is like Jah. He's just living to just live, you know. That guy is amazing. In the U.S., that dude would just be like some run of the mill bum. But I'm glad.
Hopefully not.
Nah, for real, he would, no doubt. That guy here in the U.S. just running the mill bum. Whatever. Who recorded that? Like what? Where'd you even find that?
I don't know.
Was it a cooking channel thing?
I faintly remember it, dude, to be honest. I'm surprised you do.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Got to get the lobster on. Like, dude, yeah. You used to quote the shit out of it. You had it down. I may be old, but this memory ain't.
And then you know what happened, Dennis?
Wow,
I started playing Classic WoW.
Yeah, this is true.
My brain turned to jello.
Is it? At this point, you really can do it without like you could do it in your sleep. You honestly are sleeping right now. You're actually in bed sleeping right now.
I wish.
Dude, get fucking. Wait, with Microsoft buying Blizzard, that means it'll be on Game Pass. That means WoW will be on Game Pass. So then there's really no excuse for you to pay the $15 a month for Game Pass. And then like you can play it on your phone in bed. Play WoW. Or a tablet. Or you have an iPad, you have a fucking you have a MacBook Air. You can
already play it on that.
Yeah, right? I bet it does run it.
WoW.
I bet it can run it. I was thinking about that. I was like, I bet it could run it. But no, you could like play it with much better FPS stream with the xCloud, like their streaming is, they're not fucking around. They're doing a good job. Not gonna lie. Luna's trying to up their game too. Luna, like they're really pushing Luna right now. I think they really think that like subscription model gaming is the future. Like, and why wouldn't it be, you know? Like it does make a lot of sense. especially right now when they're still talking about silicone being short for another year to 2 years from here. They're saying that silicone will still be a silicone shortage for the next like year, if not 2. Like, so streaming games is obviously a good alternative, or get, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like I've been streaming. There's a game just like this. It's a action RPG, whatever you want to call these type of games, but it's set in like the future. It's called Descent. It's pretty good. Kind of like it. I've been cloud streaming that game, like to my phone and to my Xbox. It's pretty fun. It plays better on a controller, but it's interesting. It's a pretty good game. It's like cyberpunk kind of theme, but it's like Diablo, where it's like, you know, top down view, and just like it's just like Diablo, but like cyberpunk. It's pretty good. Ascent, good game. Anyway, yeah, the difference isn't that much. They did a good job. They did a good job, like, I've heard Blizzard's mistake is that they get their talented coders and shit, and then they move them around from project to project without keeping them on a single thing. For some reason, that's like Blizzard's way. Like, they don't. For example, Overwatch was originally like kind of like the paid internship at Blizzard. Like, if you were a coder at Blizzard, or a modeler or designer or whatever, they put you on whatever the fuck Overwatch was before it was Overwatch. And it was just like this like crazy weird botch, like just tons of people, you know, throwing shit at it kind of game. And if they saw you were good, then they would take you off that, and then they would be like, all right, work on the next WoW expansion or whatever, you know? Like, they have a really weird setup over there. I don't know. Is that to their demise or to their success, you know? I don't. They used to have Blizzard North and Blizzard South too, so that was one thing. I don't know, man. Blizzard's gonna be... Is this whole Microsoft thing just kind of politics? Like, is it just bullshit? Is it because everyone hates Blizzard and they're trying to make people not hate Blizzard by it being Microsoft now? So you can't hate Microsoft? No. There's no controversy over Microsoft? Like, what's going on?
What's going on is classic WoW so fucking gay. If I die right here, I'm gonna be really fucking irate.
What are you stream, bro? What are you dying to, man? What's going on? Don't be shy, say hi. I really need to turn on the timer for that. What's it at? Every 15 minutes? Jesus.
Yeah, it's a little off-putting.
Definitely need to fix that. What are you dying to, bro? You're level like 30 something? 34? So you're in you're in Stranglethorn, right?
I'm on Arathi Highlands. I'm waiting.
Oh, you moved. That's, dude. Are you over? You're kind of like in too high of an area. Is that your problem? Maybe. You're like in a level 40 area, kind of.
Kinda. Just like in a mine with a shit ton of kobolds. PvP spec by myself, doing some bullshit ass quest. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I will like level up the nitro. I think I have like, I don't know. I know for sure it's at least 2. I don't know if it's 3. That you're full.
At least 2, yeah.
Yeah, I got at least 2. I don't know if it's 3. I think it's 2. But what'll happen when you reach that level? Like,
I don't even know.
Bro, I was looking at like the perks, the nitro and shit, and they're not that cool. Like, I kind of don't really
It
understand.
ends after the month, yeah.
I don't really understand what the whole hype is. I'm not gonna lie. It's like you get cool emojis. Like, people really care that much about emojis. You get a profile, like, you get an animated profile background. That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you do it?
Nah.
No, you didn't. Taylor did it. I saw his. His is cool. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's cool. Let's see. Let me see. Baymax needs an animated profile. Obviously, it should be probably a scene from Baymax. But it's... Why the fuck is my ex in the server? Can I kick her or something? I'm kicking her right now. No, I'm doing it right now. I'm saying you cheated on me. You cheated on me with a police officer, nonetheless, which is just I don't know, what is it? Unredeemable. That's the best I got. You got anything else?
Hey, that's not what I meant when I said fuck the police.
Wait, I'm not talking about you. They're not all that bad, but...
Dude, you don't get the joke?
Oh, I didn't actually.
You get it?
I didn't get it.
Let's say fuck the police.
I didn't get it at the time, but I'm getting it now. I said fuck the police, but damn. All right.
That's not what I meant.
That's my new. All right, that's what I'm putting now. I said. I mean, I know in our time together, I said fuck the police, but I didn't mean it literal, bitch.
You're a bad man.
Bro, she fucking unblocked me off Facebook. I've just been waiting for her to, like, say something. I'm like, oh my god, it's just coming. It's coming. I know it's coming. Timing of there.
This might be the shittest quest line I've ever seen in my entire life. Alright. So...
Thank you for that.
What?
You're funny. That was good. Oh, what's going on with your quest?
Despair,
I didn't mean literal.
sadness, depression.
Literal.
If I pulled up. It doesn't level me up, like what? This. It's not looking good for me, Dennis.
Get it. Fucking, dude. Spam chat. Spam your chat. Everyone's waking up to play right now.
Well, I'm about to get off in a
Yeah,
second.
you should
I'm just trying to hit these
either
iron
get off,
deposits.
either get off and sleep and go get your teeth cleaned, or get some
Pull
people.
it.
Get some
No,
help.
I'm about to go to sleep.
Why the fuck was that bitch in our server, bro?
You invited her, or just...
You know what? It was me. It was me. Remember I used her Discord account on my computer for like ever? I was too lazy to make my own. I just banned myself. Whatever.
Don't we all?
Yeah. We all ban ourselves eventually, don't we? We all ban ourselves alone. I do want to get to the Act 2. But I'm out of honest.
How had he found the broken shell of a man to hide? He seemed to.
This little
To have
cobalt
demons
mine
of
is
his
definitely a
own.
little mining spot for me, though.
Oh yeah? Well,
Yeah,
this
man.
is one good thing.
It's kind yeah, it's facts.
Always try to stay on. Always trying to look at the positive, man. Yeah, man, they use the same computers they use to make fucking Terminator back in, which I know I keep saying Terminator because that was a big deal. All right, those special effects in Terminator were like, that was like a evolution, you know? And then I would say the next evolution was probably Matrix.
Matrix Evolution?
Yeah. Would you say those are two valid, like, CGI evolution?
I'm not
N-
even valid
Jurassic
to comment
Park?
on-
Too sleep deprived? You're not valid? You're not valid to comment?
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, Jurassic Park?
Comment on the validity.
Jurassic Park should definitely be into that argument. No doubt. Like, people hadn't even seen anything like Jurassic Park. It's like, it goes like this. It goes like Dark Crystal blew people's minds, and that was like stop animation. And then Star Wars. In that order, if I think in that order as well. Like, I think Dark Crystal was before Star Wars. Don't quote me on it. Labyrinth as well, kind of in that same time period. Neverending Story, same time period. What else was like big time cinematic movies, like in the mid 80s?
Man, the sun is fully out. It is almost an
Dune?
hour past when I decided to get off, but I can't even log off.
Dune?
Even though I want to, because I'm corpse walking back to my fucking body.
Again? What?
Yes, again.
To another? Am I gonna piss
Because
you?
I got greedy. Trying to mine.
Did you do this?
I got greedy trying to mine, bro. Like,
Did you do the sapping thing, or did you try to kill it before you mine?
oh, I should have tried to kill it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're so right. Teach me how to play well.
Me? You're literally a Wowopedia, bro. Like, for real. It blows my mind the shit you know about WoW. It makes me want to play with you, because, like, if I was going to play with anyone, it'd definitely be easier with you. Like, I don't have to look shit up.
Nah, you'll still have to look plenty of shit up. Okay, though, you won't ever play with us, man. I get it. You're too cool for it.
Bro, I have played with y'all.
Oh, you're too cool. I get it.
Don't
I know.
you
I get it. You're
don't use fucking reverse psychology. That
no,
shit-
I get it, man. It's too old of a game.
I have played classic with you, mother. Didn't I play classic with you?
No.
I'm
Never.
pretty confident I did fire up classic, because it's on my computer. Why is it on my computer?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe because I played the trial with you.
There is no trial, so I don't know. It's yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's on my computer.
it's weird, huh?
It's weird.
Really weird.
In fact, it was so on my computer you played it when you were over here.
No, I didn't.
You sure?
Yeah.
There's no trial for classic.
Nope.
Were you trying to get Saul to play retail at one point?
No.
Hmm.
Tried to get you to play on a private server, probably. I wish you'd play Classic, but I honestly don't think you would even get past level 15. It's just too hard. It's honestly too hard of a game for you, man.
Don't reverse psychology me.
Oh, no, I'm dead
not
serious.
hard.
It's way too hard and grindy of a game for you.
It's slow and boring.
It's too hard for you. You literally would.
There's
just be
not
dying
even
over and
AoE
over
effects.
never-
Like, at least give me something to dodge and roll while I'm fighting. Like, literally, like,
serious?
dude, it's so fucking boring. Like, Jesus. I don't know. Sorry. Let's not get into this. All right. Look, the game is from 2000.
You wouldn't even be able to get past.
The
level
game is
15.
very old.
You wouldn't
Game's
be able to get past
really
level
old.
15. You wouldn't be able to get past level 15.
I'm already level 15 in Final Fantasy. I'm pretty sure it's honestly probably a little harder. At least it was for me because, like, the fucking UI is trash. And you also have to dodge things and roll around and fucking time things right.
The UI is trash in Final Fantasy.
In my opinion, yes. But I just feel that way about, like, all, like, kind of, like, Asian titles. But
That's
it's
gotta
like,
be racist.
is it? Or why are they so hung up on Windows 98 graphics? Everything looks like Windows 98. Everything.
That's gotta be racist, my guy.
Bro, no, it's not. Everything has bubble titles with fucking Windows 98 graphics. Swear to God. I just can't, like, the aesthetics just hurt me as a human being. It just hurts me. That's just how personally I am. It just hurts me. I can't. The aesthetics of their UI is just like, it's worse than WoW. And WoW's from 2004. Like, the UI in Final Fantasy it's like Windows 98, bro. Literally. I'm not even kidding. In fact, I will pull it up on my stream. Actually, hold up.
I'm getting off.
I want to watch my. But this is for the vlog. I will pull this up on my stream for the vlog.
As I watched,
Dude, like, both versions are decent.
and I was truly mad.
I think it aged well.
The terror, the destruction, the evil I witnessed. How else could I explain them? Were these the demons from my dream or wonder?
I feel like a different person there. That's weird. That fire looks so weird. Fire is one thing that's hard to, like, CGI. It's really hard to CGI fire, or even photograph it. It looks so, like, lava, I guess, right there. I like that you can see the details of the skeletons in the flame in the old version better. You can tell the skeletons were part of what he conjured. I mean, you can see it in both versions, but stand out more in the first version. Alright, bro, catch him.
Later, homie. Good talks.
Yeah, man, good luck. Get them clean.
I'll keep you filled in on that.
I want a before and after you have your grill.
I'll bet. Alright, man. Have fun playing Diablo. Maybe I'll watch your stream and fall asleep to it.
Yeah. Good night.
Alright.
Why did I follow him? I don't know. Why do things happen as they do?
Do the lighting effects in the old version actually better?
Dreams. All I know.
Yeah, it's not so much about the effects as it is about the focus of the character, I think that's what it is. Like, they're trying to distract from the fact they couldn't render enough polygons in this model to bring detail to the character. So they're just like, let's just show some cool lighting effects around.
Is that when he beckoned, I had to follow.
It's just like, what it is just it's like sparkles, like sprinkling sparkles on a turd, you know? Like, look at all the pretty sparkles.
From that moment,
I don't know, this scene looks better to me on the old version.
we traveled together.
Oh, they did put the trees in this though.
East. Always. Into the east.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, flames were pretty hard to CGI back in the day. Just more detail in general. Alright, we just watched this one in game. See what it looks like side by side.
We traveled east, over the mountains and into the vast deserts of broken lands.
Ironic.
As the days passed, my companion told me of himself, that he had once been a great warrior, and that a dark and secret burden now weighed heavily upon him. We traveled for an eternity across death's
Just way more detail in the new one.
How long? I couldn't say. And always a dark.
I love that they kept. I love that they kept it
just over the
original though. I love them for that.
Finally, the journey ended. We climbed the last bridge. There below us lay our destination. The shining jewel, Loot Lane. With
Again, they're just overusing the lighting effects to kind of like help with those blobby type models. Where here we have much more polygon counts and like, you know, they could have done cool lighting and shit. But they're like, let's just, I don't know, let's just focus on some clouds and we'll put some lights here. This game's like, let's put lighting everywhere because it's just came out. DirectX 6.
the great sea.
Don't quote me on that. I don't know what DirectX that was.
We made camp that last night.
Again with the fire, the realism of the fire. Like, I don't know.
Perhaps it was the warm desert.
Wait, there's no lightning in this version.
Wind or the sound of the ocean. Absolution.
They did such a good job, bro. It literally looks like the same creepy, weird dude. The Wanderer. Marius. Marius. They even got the literally same facial structure.
But for the first time,
Like I said, polygon counts like a blob. But this, I'm telling you, this is the stuff they use to make Terminator.
in many weeks.
Took like a week to render one, like, I mean, maybe a day to render like 10 frames or something like that, you know? Whereas this took like a day to render the whole fucking, every single cinematic for the whole entire game.
I slept. However, the dreams returned, but these were clearly not my own. I beheld the vision of a great man, the mage.
So they just try to add this blurriness to like get away with not having a lot of detail.
Talrasha. You were there too, Ethereal. I remember.
And I mean, this obviously is because of Diablo 3. They're going to make him look like Ethereal in Diablo 3, which Diablo 3's version of Ethereal was obviously drawn from Diablo 1 and 2's version of Ethereal. And, yeah, I mean, you can't beat the cool ass fucking their rendition of Angel Wings here. It's not, it's cool. You just can't beat it.
Seeing you in my dream, his brethren had cornered a great demon, Baal, Lord of Destruction, who had been set loose upon the world. They attempted to imprison the demon within a sacred stone. Yet when their attempts failed, Talrasha selflessly
sounds familiar.
volunteered to contain the demon within himself, completing the prison. He instructed his brethren to bind him within a tomb, buried under the sand, there to wrestle with the demon for all.
Yeah, just so much more detail. Still, I mean, timeless.
Now you know what I seek, Marius. This is my brother. Sleep now. We set out with the dawn.
Mind you, this guy still thinks this is Tyrael.
The next morning, we walked over the hill toward Lutgolain. I had no idea then of the horrors that were in store for me there.
I love in D3, Act 2 is also in the desert. We're not going to watch that one because we're not there yet. Let's just do tips for beginners.
Hey folks, this is Riker
Wow,
with a beginner
an
guide
hour
for
long-
Diablo 2 Resurrected. If you're coming from Diablo 3 or another ARPG, or you just never were a Diablo 2 pro back in the day,
I
or
still
you're coming
don't
from
agree
anything for that
ARPG
matter,
is
we're
the
gonna
correct
highlight
title for these
some of the key differences
top-down
between Diablo 2 and some of the other ARPGs. We're going to go over game systems, we're going to talk some general
need a better
strategy
title.
advice, and by
It's
the
not
end
a
of this video,
turn-based
you're going to feel
RPG.
confident in taking on the forces of hell, and you can migrate to following some more advanced guides and be well on your way to becoming a D2 pro. If you ever want to refer to any written guides, maxroll.gg is the best resource out there. It has everything you need
That's
to
a
know
very
to
expensive
become a
mic that
D2
guy's
pro.
using.
Now you'll see a lot of footage in this video that is
That's a
showing
blue
old
mic.
D2
That's
and
like
not
a-
D2 Resurrected. Don't worry, the game
It's a very
is the
expensive
same. The
professional blue
engine
mic.
is the same. D2R is just a fancy coat of paint. Now we're going to break up this video into 12
Who's this guy?
chapters, and you can reference the timestamps below to skip ahead to different chapters, or if you ever want to come back, bone up on a, on a certain chapter, maybe you
Damn,
missed
this- all
something,
right.
or more realistically, because this video is going to be so incredibly long,
We're saving
maybe
this.
you watch the first 2 chapters today, tomorrow the next 2, and you kind of go through it like a lesson plan. So let's start with Chapter 1, Skill Points. Every time you level up, you're going to gain a skill point to spend.
Damn,
there are also
he's
some
really
quests that will
fucking
award skill points. Every class has 3 skill trees, each representing some kind of different playstyle. You can choose to focus on one of these trees or mix
Now,
and
mind you,
match.
when this game came out, they wanted it to be like your mom could play it. Like the original vision for the game was it for for it to be definitely just jump in and hack and slash and have a good time, which was unlike many roguelike. It was originally supposed to be like a roguelike because that's why they have the procedurally generated zones. Everything's procedurally generated, so you get good replayability. You get the roguelike game style, but roguelikes were really hard. And the original Diablo, it was like you die and that's it, you're done. And they kind of met a middle ground with that too. So it was also supposed to be turn-based, so I'm glad they didn't do that. It's interesting. I don't know.
However you want. Now your level will limit how many points you can allocate into a certain skill. You're going to need to level up in order to put that next point into it.
You do get one
but
respect.
at high enough level, you can assign a maximum of 20
DLC,
skill points to any given
way.
skill. Some items, however, will provide you with bonuses to skills, and that's going to let you go above that 20 cap. As a general rule, you're going to want to max out whatever is your main damage dealing skill, but you don't necessarily want to max out every skill that you put a point into. For some skills, you'll only want to put a single point into them, either because they're a prerequisite for other skills on the skill tree, or because just having that level 1 version of the skill meets your needs. Skills generally become more powerful with increasing point investment, but their mana cost, if they have any, tends to go up as well. The Sorceress's Warmth skill, which increases her mana.
Alright, this is actually my first character was a sorceress. So
Regeneration by a huge 30% is one of those 1-point wonder skills that even just 1 point into it helps a lot. And over time, as you get gear that's going to add plus to all your skill levels, well, that's just going to benefit from that and help even more.
Good. I don't feel like such an idiot for spending on warmth, because every build I've seen doesn't have any points in warmth.
Plus
it seems like a no-brainer
to
to
all
me.
your skill levels, well, that's just going to benefit from that and help even more. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that skills are a finite resource. You are unlikely.
Look at how little space you just have in your fucking inventory pretty much at all times. It's ridiculous. So annoying.
To be able to max out every skill that you put a point into. At level 99, the maximum level of the game, which, let's face it, most people won't reach, a character will have 100.
So really the only thing to keep is these runes, I guess. Looks like it's really only good things. I don't really see a lot of weapons. Some jewelry, some runes. And mostly runes. Jewels. Alright.
Intense skill points. For the average player, getting into the low 90s is quite an achievement. But don't worry, most builds are complete by that point, or even 10 or 20 levels before that point. Having 110 skill points versus 100 really isn't a huge advantage, especially when you're at a point where you don't even know where to put your skill points anymore. You're just throwing them away by that point. Now, some skills provide a synergy bonus to other skills. That means that allocating points into skill A may provide a bonus for skill B. So, for example, the Sorceress's Blizzard spell receives a 5% damage buff for every skill point in Ice Bolt. In fact, for some skills, such as the Necromancer's Bone Armor, you're better off investing points into skills that grant synergy bonuses to Bone Armor rather than Bone Armor itself. That makes Bone Armor one of those skills that you want to put only a single point into. But the general lesson here is just check for synergies. Now, different skills can serve different purposes within your build.
Really
some are damage dealers, some skills might be for crowd control, some are buffs, some are for mobility. Generally, you'll have one main damage dealer, maybe 2 in some builds. Diablo 2 has immunities. Monsters can have resistance to different elements, and at higher levels even immunities. So you can encounter a monster that is immune to fire damage, and if you're a fire build that has no way of dealing any kind of damage other than fire, while you're in a bit of a pickle.
Sorcerer.
Generally, most people will not get a secondary damage skill just to deal with that, but it's worth mentioning that some people like to play that way, where they don't skip any monsters and they don't rely on teammates, that they want to be completely self-sufficient and get through the content. And so for that reason, you might want to have another skill, but build guides in general don't recommend this. Now, some of these damage dealing skills are classified as attack skills, while others are classified as spells or caster skills. If your skill is a spell, a fireball or an assassin's trap, anything that's not attacking with your weapon, then all of the damage is coming from the spell itself, from the caster skill itself, and that's noted in the description. You see, in Diablo 2, your damage doesn't just globally scale off of your sheet damage or your weapon damage. You can have no weapon equipped at all, and your fireball is still a fireball that deals its maximum fireball damage.
Figure out what I need
the
to
other
pick
kind
up
of
and what I
skill
don't need to pick
is
up, damn it.
an attack, and this one is based off of your weapon damage. For example, the Barbarian's Whirlwind skill deals 50% of your regular attack damage. On to Chapter 2, Attribute Points. Every time you level up, in addition to a skill, you'll also gain 5 attribute points to allocate. Some quests will also reward attribute points. Now, every character has 4 attributes: strength, dexterity, vitality, and energy. And every attribute does the same thing for every class. Strength increases your damage with attacks. Dexterity increases your chance to hit an enemy, your attack rating, and it increases your chance to avoid being hit by an enemy. You see, in Diablo 2, when you make an attack, you're not guaranteed to hit your enemy. With every attack, there's a random chance that you miss your target, similar to Dungeons and Dragons. The higher your attack rating, the more likely you are to hit an enemy. And this is comparing your attack rating against the enemy's defense rating, similar to your to hit against AC. Or for our old school friends, are the THAC0. However, you can never have more than a 95% chance to hit or less than a 5% chance to hit, just like rolling a 1 or a 20 in D&D. Now, higher dexterity also increases your defense rating. The higher your defense rating, the more likely enemies are to miss you with an attack. We need to specify here, though, attacks. Spells bypass this entirely. A spell will hit you as long as it physically connects with you. You need to move out of the way to avoid a spell. More dexterity will also increase your block chance with a shield. All physical attacks can be blocked with a shield. Different shields will innately provide different block chances, and higher dexterity will increase that block chance. Your block, however, can never rise above 75%, and that means that when you're hit with an attack, you have a 75% chance to take no damage. Vitality determines how much life you have, as well as how much stamina you have. What's stamina? Well, Diablo 2 has a run-walk toggle. You can either walk or you can run. Running depletes your stamina, which will slowly regenerate once you stop running. Now, stamina will be a problem for you in the early game, but less so as you level up. Stamina potions and stamina shrines are always your friends. They'll give you infinite stamina for a short duration. Now, the other thing to be aware of is that while you're running, you are easier to hit. Your block chance gets reduced by 2/3, and your defense drops to 0, meaning any attack will have a 95% chance to hit no matter how much armor and defense you're stacking. That's why it's advised that melee characters not always be running, especially inside combat. Then lastly, energy determines how much mana your character has. Now, while you're free to allocate your attribute points however you like, you'll find that most build guides make very similar recommendations with little variation. Yes, there's going to be some exceptions, but there are some general rules to go by. In general, vitality is the stat that you see people invest the most into. Defense is great, but since you'll always have a chance of being hit no matter how high your defense, well, you want to have enough life to survive a hit. Energy is a stat that is least invested into. Many players consider putting any points into energy a complete waste. Remember, your attribute points, like your skill points, are a limited resource, so rather than spend precious attribute points in energy, you can instead just pop a mana potion to replenish your mana when it's low, and mana potions are effectively a renewable resource. Now, that said, at low level, you may want to invest up to 30 points max into energy by the time you hit level 30. This is really only if you're a spellcaster that's really mana dependent and you're really mana thirsty. But when you eventually respec into your endgame build, you will no longer be putting points into energy. More on respec later. Then, as for strength and dexterity, well, there's another game mechanic tied to these attributes. Gear requirements. Some items will require a certain amount of strength or dexterity to equip, and higher level items will tend to require more strength and or dexterity. The general guideline here is to get just enough strength and dex to equip the gear that you will want to wear in the endgame. Then you put everything else into Vitality. How do you know how much strength and dexterity you need? Well, you either follow a build guide, or you look into the endgame gear yourself and choose what you want, or as you're leveling, you can just keep some spare points to spend whenever you get a shiny new piece of gear and, oh, I need 5 more strength for that. But here are a couple benchmarks to keep in mind. By Act 2, everyone wants at least 25 strength to be able to equip a heavy belt that lets you carry a lot more potions. By Act 5, it's good to have at least 47 strength in order to equip a kite shield, which will be used as a base for the Ancient's Pledge rune word. Don't worry, we'll explain all of that later. And in general, if you're not an attack-based character, you can probably ignore dexterity altogether. You're unlikely to have gear that will really require dexterity. In general, don't be afraid of having more strength than you need at the moment. At higher level and higher difficulties, there will be higher level gear that needs even more strength. Just don't go overboard by putting like 50 points more than you need. But if you do, well, this takes us to Chapter 3, Respec. Now, attribute and skill points can be hoarded. You never have to spend them. You can keep them as long as you want, but once you've spent them, they are locked in. However, there are a couple conditions in the game under which you can respec or respecialize, meaning you get all your skill points and all your attributes refunded to be reallocated however you want. Firstly, when you complete the first quest in the game in Act 1, Clear the Den of Evil, you unlock a respec that you can access from the NPC priestess Akara. You can do this a total of 3 times, 1 for each of the game's difficulties. The second way to respec is to acquire the Token of Absolution consumable item. You get this by farming 4 rare item drops on Hell difficulty and combining them in the Horadric Cube. You can farm this an unlimited number of times, but if you're at the point where you're even dealing with a Token of Absolution, you're probably not a beginner anymore. It's also worth noting that the Token of Absolution, just like any item in the game, is something that you can trade for with other players, so you technically don't have to farm it yourself if you're willing to trade for it. Now, as a general rule, as long as you have a functional build, it's best not to use up your last respec, be it from a Kara or a Token of Absolution. If you use up your last respec just to optimize your build a bit, you might find yourself in a bad situation later where, oh man, I didn't finish the campaign yet, and now I've hit a wall. I realize my build isn't good, and now I don't have a respec left to fix my build. For instance, a lot of players who don't follow a build guide will hit a wall after completing normal difficulty, and then need to seriously reevaluate their build. So saving that first respec especially could be a really good idea. If you're already thinking of respecing and you're like level 10, you're probably just better off making a new character. One thing to be aware of though, and to look out for, is Illusory Walls. You think you've hit a wall, but it's actually just because you're fighting monsters that are immune or resistant to your damage. So let's say you're a fire sorceress. Your main damage type is fire. You only deal fire damage, and you're fighting fire immune enemies or fire resistant enemies. Well, yeah, this part's going to be a struggle, but does that mean your whole build is bad? Not necessarily. You might not need to respec. It's possible that if you can just get through this hurdle, the next zone, there won't be any more fire immune enemies, and your build will work perfectly fine. So if you've reached what you suspect might be a false wall, I recommend you go to maxroll.gg, check out the areas section of the website, and it'll tell you what immunities you'll be facing in what zone. So just check, does the next zone have those same immunities or not? And maybe you can struggle through to it. Now, while respec is generally seen as something that lets you fix your character,
man.
Expert players actually use respecs proactively to optimize their playthroughs. You see, in general, skills that you unlock later on tend to be better, but you need to get to higher level first to get those skills. So you're faced with this dilemma. Do you optimize for low level, wasting skill points for your endgame build, or do you optimize for your endgame build, sacrificing low-level effectiveness and making you take longer to get to the endgame? Well, thanks to respec, you can get the best of both worlds. And build guides that you find on maxroll.gg will operate that way. They're gonna tell you when to respec to maximize your effectiveness. On to Chapter 4, difficulty. Alright, so we've mentioned higher difficulties, so let's explain how this all works in Diablo 2. When you start a level 1 character, you're playing on normal difficulty. You have the campaign to play through 5 acts, and once you've beaten it, then you unlock Nightmare difficulty. Once you beat the game on Nightmare, you unlock the final difficulty, hell. In Diablo 2, the challenges you face do not scale with your level. This applies to playing in the various acts and zones, as well as the different difficulty levels. So when you first leave the town in Act 1 normal and encounter your first monsters, they are level 1 monsters. By the time you're at the end of Act 1, you are facing level 12 monsters. If you reach level 50 and come back to that zone, those monsters will still be level 12. So if you ever feel that you're struggling with the content that you're facing, you can always go back to a previous zone or a previous difficulty and farm up until you get enough more levels and skill points and gear to feel confident in tackling the content that you reached. Now, not only do Nightmare in Hell have higher level monsters, but they often have buffed resistances to different damage types. And speaking of resistances, a major thing you'll notice immediately, or hopefully you will, is that as soon as you go into Nightmare difficulty, all your resistances are reduced by 40. In Hell, they're reduced by a total of 100. Now note that this is just when you are playing on those difficulties. If you made it to Hell and then go back to normal difficulty, you will not have that negative 100 penalty to your resists. It is tied to the difficulty you're playing in, not tied to the progress of your character. Higher difficulties will also increase the size of some zones, and there are a few other changes that are less evident, but the most significant thing for players is to plan for the massive resistance penalties that they'll face. Now, there's something else that affects difficulty, and reward for that matter, and that's the number of players in the game. The challenge scales up with more players, and so does the reward. For every additional player in the game, monsters have more life, more attack rating, and more damage, but they award more experience, and increases the odds of a monster dropping at least one item. Now, if you're playing offline single player, you can actually enter a command to simulate having more players in your game with you. You hit enter, you type /players2, hit enter, and that'll simulate having 2 players in your game. And you can do that up to players 8. 8 is the maximum number of players in a game. So if you're looking for a greater challenge, you can maybe try experimenting with players 3 just to see how that goes. That'll give monsters double their health, but also double their XP. If you do mess with player settings though, it's generally advised that before you take on an act boss, you drop it down to players 1 if you don't want to get wrecked. Now, the best builds in the game at endgame can farm players 8 efficiently. But in general, for optimal play, while it may be tempting to go for, higher reward, higher XP, let me go higher player count, more drops, the key is efficiency. If you're playing on a higher player setting and struggling through the content, then the extra reward isn't worth the extra time it's taking you to trudge through that content when you can be blitzing through players 1 content so much faster. Yes, in any single run, you're gonna get fewer reward, but you're gonna make up for it over time. Another consideration about drops and player settings is that only the odd player numbers, that is 3, 5, and 7, increase your odds of getting items. Technically, it decreases the odds of getting no items, but that's a whole other thing. Basically, it means that playing on players 8 will give you more XP than players 7, but you will not get more items than on players 7. And speaking of items, that takes us to Chapter 5, items. In Diablo 2, there are different classes of items, which can be identified by the color of their name. Normal items, which are white, magic items, which are blue, rare items, which are yellow, unique items, which are gold, and set items, which are green. You'll also see some gray items, which are normal items that either have sockets or are ethereal. Ethereal items are higher quality items that cannot be repaired. They have lower durability, meaning they'll lose their durability faster, and then once they're broken, that's it, they can no longer be used. Now, it might be natural to think that magic items are better than normal, rares are better than magic, and uniques and sets are better than rare. And while that can hold true as a very, very general rule, things are actually much more complex than that. Every type of item has a specific use in Diablo 2, and is not made obsolete by another tier of item. In the endgame, white, blue, yellow, green, every color of item can be important to you. Magic items are items that can roll with up to 2 magic affixes, such as +8 life or +5 to strength. Rare items roll with either 3 or 4 magic affixes, and while that might make it seem like rares are just better than magic items, generally that is true. However, the trade-off is that a magic item has the chance to roll an affix higher than a rare can. For example, the maximum magic find that you can get on a rare ring is 35%. But on a magic ring, it's 40%. As for unique items, they're not at all like legendaries in Diablo 3. A unique item is a specific item that always rolls specific affixes. The number of that affix may change. It might roll on a range, like 5 to 10 strength, but the item always has those same specific affixes. For example here, the Tarn Helm will always have +1 to all skills. It'll always have 75% extra gold from monsters, and then it'll also always have somewhere between 25% and 50% to magic find. So you might get one Tarn Helm to drop that'll have 26%, another one drops that has 49%, but a Tarn Helm will always have magic find, and those other properties will always be exactly the same. So when you do find a unique, it may prove to be a huge upgrade for you, or it might not really be something that fits your build. Sets are simple. Sets are basically specific unique items that, when equipped along with other specific unique items, give you additional bonuses. In general, most sets have one or more partial set bonuses for having only some of the set, and then a complete set bonus for wearing the entire set. And endgame characters in Diablo 2 will not necessarily be equipped solely in set and unique items, but rather a combination of unique or set, rare, maybe even some magic items, but also rune word items. Remember how we said that every type of item has a specific use? Well, that applies to normal items as well. And normal items are the only types of items on which you can create rune words, which can result in some of the most powerful items in the game. More on rune words in a bit though, because first, a quick primer on sockets. Your helm, your chest, and your main hand and offhand items can have sockets in them, in which you can insert gems, runes, or jewels. Gems come in a few different flavors, like sapphire or ruby, and also in different quality tiers. For instance, you go from a chipped sapphire, the worst quality, all the way up to a perfect sapphire, the best quality. Each type of gem or flavor provides a different kind of bonus, and the higher quality that gem, the higher the specific bonus. Depending on where you socket the gem, be it in your weapon, armor, or shield, it'll also provide a different bonus. Now, jewels are items that can drop as either rare or magic, thus possessing affixes, and when you insert that jewel into a socket, you then benefit from those affixes, assuming you're wearing the piece of gear. Then runes are the third type of socketable. There are 33 different runes, and each rune provides a specific bonus when socketed into gear. Like gems, runes can give different benefits depending on whether you insert them into a weapon, armor, or shield. However, unlike gems, runes can be used to craft rune words, which we'll cover in our next chapter. But first, some general gearing advice. Resistances in Diablo 2 are important to stack, especially starting in Nightmare difficulty. You have a resistance score for fire, cold, lightning, and poison damage. Your score represents what percentage of damage of that type you ignore. 50% fire resistance means you ignore half of all the fire damage you take. Resistances are naturally capped at 75, meaning even if you have 120% fire resistance, you still only have 75 effective fire resistance. However, some skills or items will eventually let you raise your resistance cap, but you can never go above 95%. Throughout normal difficulty, you don't need to worry too much about your resists, but they become very important by Nightmare. You want to aim to keep your cold, fire, and lightning resistances at or near their 75% cap. Poison resistance isn't as important to stack, partially because there's some broken mechanics around poison that render poison resistance basically obsolete, but also because keeping an antidote potion on you at all times just will cancel out a poison. As soon as you get poison, pop the antidote, you're no longer poisoned. Similarly, keeping a thawing potion on you at all times will allow you to get out of freeze effects applied to your character. And a stamina potion, as we said, will give you infinite stamina. It's generally a good idea to keep one of each of these potions in your inventory at all times. Now, not only do thawing potions and antidote potions remove freeze and poison effects respectively, but an antidote potion will buff your poison resistance by 50 and increase your max poison resistance by 10 for 30 seconds, with the thawing potion doing the same thing for cold. You can also drink multiple potions to have their durations, but not effects, stack. So 30 seconds, you take that potion 4 times, it's now going to last you 2 minutes. And the same thing applies to stamina potions. So if you know you're about to go into a fight that can really benefit from a certain resistance, buy and pop a few of those potions real quick in town. For instance, grab those thawing potions before fighting Duriel. And if you don't know who Duriel is, well, you're gonna have a fun time finding out. Now, while you might be inclined to just look for drops, you shouldn't undervalue shopping around in town. Look at the vendors and see what they're selling. It could be a good place to find gear that'll help max out your resists. Boots, gloves, belts, helmets are things that you can shop for that might fill in those resists. Other affixes worth getting would be faster run walk on boots, attack speed on gloves if and only if you're an attack character. Plus life is always nice to have, plus mana if you're a caster suffering from mana issues, and magic find is just always great to fit in wherever you can so that you can find better gear. Now if you're having trouble getting those resists up, if you need some help, you can also use the Ort, Ral, and Thul runes, if you have gear with sockets, to give you some pretty solid lightning, fire, or cold resistance respectively. If you find any items that grant you plus to all skills or plus to skills you're using, these are immensely useful. And outside of that, the affixes that you're looking for exactly in every piece of gear will be quite dependent on your build. And if you're getting unlucky and you can't find the items that you want or need, well, you can always trade with other players. In Diablo 2, no items are bound, meaning any item can be given for free or traded, and in-game loot is shared. The loot that you see is the same loot that everyone else sees, and anyone can grab it. If you're looking to get seriously into trading, the currency that you can farm in order to trade would not be gold, but actually high-level runes. Runes starting at Lem and higher are considered valuable. And speaking of runes, that finally takes us to Chapter 6, Rune Words. Not only do runes have inherent properties, but you can combine multiple runes to form rune words that let you basically build a unique item. Now you can't just put any runes together however you want in any items. There are specific recipes that must be followed to produce a specific rune word. You can find a recipe for all available rune words on maxroll.gg, but the common factor here is that they each consist of runes that must be inserted into sockets in a specific order and might require a specific base item. So if a rune word requires 2 runes, you need an item that has 2 sockets. You can't put it in an item with 3 sockets. It has to be 2 sockets. And again, depending on the rune word, it sometimes might require a specific type of item, like a specific, it could be a helm or a specific type of weapon. So let's look at, for instance, the stealth rune word. That requires the runes Tal and Eth in that order, and the base item must be a body armor piece. Because this is a 2-socket rune word, we need 2 sockets in the armor, and the base item for the rune word must be a normal item. It cannot be magic or rare or unique. Once you've inserted the runes, you've created the rune word. And the item now gains the rune word's properties in addition to the individual properties of the runes you inserted. So a stealth rune word would give you all the affixes that you're seeing here. There are a lot of rune words in the game. Some are low level, some are high level, some are easy to farm, some are difficult to farm. We'll highlight now some starter rune words that you can go for that are powerful and not too difficult to put together. The first would be the one that we just mentioned, Stealth. This rune word is so good that even though it's a pretty beginner rune word, it can be endgame viable. In the endgame, you would just put these same runes in a higher level armor. The 25% faster run walk, 25% faster cast rate, and 25% hit recovery are really powerful. Hit recovery affects how long you're stunned whenever you take a hit, and the cast rate is really good for casters. Another one is Allure Helm. This gives you +1 to all skills, which is always welcome, though you will need to reach Nightmare to get this, or to farm it relatively easily. The best way to farm runes is by killing the Countess in Act 1 over and over and over again. On normal difficulty, she can drop up to Raoul runes, so some of these rune words will require you to reach Nightmare Countess to farm. The Ancient's Pledge rune word will create an excellent defensive shield for you. With it, you can a lot more easily hit your resistance caps. Any attacker that can work a shield into their build, or any caster, can benefit tremendously from the Ancient's Pledge, and it can be useful all the way into Hell difficulty. Casters will eventually want to swap out an Ancient's Pledge for a Spirit Shield, with its +2 to all skills and up to 35% faster cast rate and 55% hit recovery, but that's further down the line. And the beauty of the Spirit Rune Word is that you can also create it on a sword. So many builds that you're going to see will eventually want to use dual spirits in your main hand and your offhand. If you're a melee character, a Rhyme Shield can be a lifesaver. It makes it so that you cannot be frozen, because being frozen in the middle of a pack of monsters is often a death sentence. If your main damage source is a fire spell, generally meaning you're a sorceress, a druid, or an assassin with fire traps, you can benefit tremendously from the Leaf Staff. Just 2 runes give you +3 to fire skills, as well as +3 to 3 different sorceress skills, which makes most people think this is just for sorceresses, but that +3 to fire skills is cross-class. Now, you may see some expert players running with or recommending a Nadir Helm, which is easy to put together and gives you access to the Cloak of Shadows spell, which applies a blind effect to enemies, and it's incredibly powerful to use at low levels, but it's a bit of an advanced tactic and we're not going to recommend it for beginners. You can't go wrong with a Lore Helm. Smoke Armor is good to make for a Mercenary, +50 to all resistances will help keep your Mercenary alive, and if you can't afford making yourself a stealth, you can always wear the smoke until you can make yourself a stealth and then pass the smoke on to your Mercenary. If you're a melee character, you can make the Steel Rune Word, which you apply on either an axe, a mace, or a sword at low level, and you gain a 50% chance to inflict open wounds, which will make the enemy lose health for 8 seconds, and this stacks with every successful open wound hit, so that's pretty powerful. Then the upgrade from that would be a Malice Rune Word. You can put that on any melee weapon and it gives you a 100% chance of open wounds, meaning every hit will inflict that effect. Then Strength is a rune word that you can put again onto any melee weapon that grants a 25% chance of Crushing Blow. Crushing Blow is a really powerful effect because it removes a percentage of an enemy's health, regardless of how much life the enemy has. With a melee weapon against normal enemies, Crushing Blow takes off 25% of a creature's health with every hit, or 12.5% health against a champion, unique, or boss monster. Now note that this is a percentage of current health, not of maximum health, so Crushing Blow is most useful at the start of a fight, with diminishing returns after every subsequent attack, but still very powerful. This is also a really good item to put on an Act 2 Mercenary. If you don't use the item yourself, put it on your Mercenary, or if you're not a character who can benefit from using it. If you're a caster, put it on your Mercenary. Act 2 Mercenary would require a Spear class weapon, and this allows your Mercenary to be a significant source of damage. Lastly, the Black Rune Word has requirements that are a bit higher. You'll need to reach Nightmare most likely, but it's incredibly powerful. You can put it into a club, hammer, or mace, and it gives a 40% chance of Crushing Blow. There are, of course, plenty of other rune words and much more advanced ones, and you can find all of them on maxroll.gg. That takes us to Chapter 7, The Cube.
Oh, you've got quite a treasure there in that
I guess that's
Roderick
popular.
cube.
The cube is an item you'll pick up as part of a quest in Act 2, and it'll become an invaluable tool for you. By placing specific recipes of items inside of it and hitting the transmute button, you can craft an array of different items. Outside of crafting, the cube is something that many players simply carry with them all the time in their inventory, because while it takes up a 2x2 space in your inventory, you can open it up and it holds more space than it takes up, so it's a life hack to actually carry more loot with you. When you're not using the cube, simply use it for extra storage space. Now, as for cube recipes, there are a couple quest-related ones that will introduce you to the basics of using the cube. Outside of that, there's a whole lot of recipes, we're not going to go through them all, but some of the most basic recipes you'll be using early on will be upgrading your gems. If you insert 3 gems of the same type, of the same quality, and hit transmute, you'll get 1 gem of the higher quality tier. Similarly, if you insert 3 identical runes, then you hit transmute, you'll get 1 rune of the next level. Up to a point. Once you reach Thal runes, you'll need to start adding a specific gem to get the next highest rune, and this continues upward with steeper requirements for the more precious runes. Again, you can reference maxwell.gg for the full list of recipes once you get to that point. You can also craft Rejuvenation Potions by inserting 3 healing potions of any quality, 3 mana potions of any quality, plus a chipped gem. Health potions restore a certain amount of health, mana potions restore a certain amount of mana. Rejuvenation Potions restore health and mana based on percentage. They will instantly restore 35% of your life and mana. And then if you cube 3 Rejuvenation Potions, you get a full Rejuvenation Potion, which when you drink will instantly give you back all your life and all your mana. Now, a recipe that can be fun to play around with is if you have 3 magic rings that you don't need, pop them in there, hit transmute, you'll get a random magic amulet, and vice versa. 3 amulets will get you 1 ring. Another recipe that everyone should know is combining Wirt's Leg, which you get from Tristram, with a Tome of Town portal to open a portal to the Secret Cow level. Then a lot of the other recipes will use gems and runes to add sockets to items, upgrade items, craft new items. Again, Maxwell.gg has all these recipes. Upgrade recipes will use Jepin from Tristram. Is combining Wirt's Leg, which you get from Tristram, with a Tome of Town portal to open a portal to potions by
That's how
inserting
easy
3
is
healing
the
potions of any quality, 3 mana potions of any quality, plus a chipped gem. Health potions restore a certain amount of health. Mana potions restore a certain amount of montage. They will instantly cube 3 rejuvenate, give you back. Have 3 magic rings and vice versa. Is combining Wirt's Leg, which you get from Tristram, with a Tome of Town portal to open a portal to the Secret Cow level. Then a lot of the other recipes will use gems and runes to add sockets to items, upgrade items, craft new items.
Cow level?
Again, Maxwell.gg has all these recipes, but as a beginner, you don't really need to fuss with that. On to Chapter 8, Mercenaries. In Diablo 2, you can either hire a mercenary, or if you don't already have one, certain quests will reward you with one for free. In Diablo 2, mercenaries can be a very powerful part of your build, and you keep your mercenary with you in multiplayer games. Mercenaries can be equipped with items to increase their power and their survivability, and you can even feed them healing potions when they're low on health. When a mercenary dies, you can revive it for a fee. Every town hub has a specific NPC at which you can resurrect your mercenary. 4 of the 5 acts in the game have mercenaries that you can hire, giving us 4 base mercenary types. Each base mercenary type can equip different weapon types and has access to different skills. So for example, in Act 1, the mercenary is a rogue who can equip a bow, whereas the Act 5 mercenary gives you a melee barbarian. Within these base types, there are different mercenary subtypes. For instance, that rogue can either be a fire variant or a cold variant. So it'll either shoot a fire arrow for high damage or a cold arrow that'll freeze enemies. Now, if you ever hire a new mercenary, it will replace your existing mercenary, and any gear on that mercenary, bye-bye, gone forever. So generally, you strip your mercenary before buying a replacement. Now, while you are, of course, free to use any mercenary you'd like to, most endgame builds in Diablo 2 will use only a few of the mercenary types. The Act 2 mercenary is the most commonly used mercenary because he emits a Paladin aura that will buff your character. There are 3 subtypes of Act 2 mercenary: combat, defensive, and offensive. And then each subtype will emit a different aura depending on what game difficulty you hired him in. So, normal, nightmare, and hell, giving a total of 9 variants for the Act 2 mercenary. If you're a character that relies on attacks as opposed to spells as your main source of damage, then the normal difficulty Act 2 offensive mercenary will give you Blessed Aim, which will increase your attack rating, thus letting you hit a lot more often. Eventually though, you'll outgrow this mercenary, but it's a great low-level choice for attack characters. Otherwise, many builds go for the Nightmare difficulty Act 2 offensive mercenary, which gives the Might aura, a big damage buffing aura. But he can be difficult to keep alive without the right gear. An alternative is the Nightmare Act 2 defensive mercenary. He has this amazing Holy Freeze aura that just freezes all enemies on screen. And because his crowd control is so powerful, well, he's the best utility mercenary you can get. And he's the easiest to keep alive.
This is good info, guys.
Frozen enemies aren't a huge threat to you or him. Act 2 mercenaries are also able to equip pole arms with the Insight rune word in them. And this is a rune word that is an incredible source of mana recovery. Also worth mentioning that Act 1 mercenaries are able to equip the Faith rune word, which gives a huge buff to attack builds. Alright, on to Chapter 9, Death. It happened, you died. Different games have different penalties for death, so what happens in D2? Well, first off, you respawn in town, naked. Not literally, but you don't have any of your gear on you anymore. That gear is on your corpse, which is located wherever you died. So if you want to get your gear back, well, you're gonna have to bring your naked butt over to your corpse. Now don't worry, only you can loot your corpse. No one can steal the items off your corpse's body. Now this is why players will tend to open town portals before going into known dangerous situations, or they'll just open them periodically, just so that if they die, there's a town portal nearby. You don't have to trek all the way from the waypoint, or worse, from town. Now, when you die, you do drop your gear. For whatever reason, you don't drop the items that are held in your inventory. Also, if you had potions in your belt, those potions get shoved into your inventory as long as there is space for them. If there is not space, then those potions drop on the ground near your corpse. Also, whenever you die, your mercenary also dies and needs to be revived for a fee. If you have any summons, like you're a necromancer with skeletons, they die and need to be resummoned. If you had any buffs, they expire. Now, sometimes getting your corpse back is easy. Other times you may die over and over again trying to get that corpse back. Maybe you'll be tempted to put on some gear in order to survive long enough to retrieve your corpse. Here's the thing. Every time you die, you leave behind a corpse. Not just the first time. And if you die more than 15 times before retrieving your first corpse, well, on your 16th death, your original corpse will now pop and drop all the gear that it had equipped, meaning it's now on the ground and anyone can grab it. It also means that once that gear is popped, if you leave the game and the game closes, boom, that gear is gone forever. That's why if you think that retrieving your corpse will be difficult, it's often better to just leave the game and remake. Rejoin a new game, load back into game. This causes your corpse to just respawn in town with you, with all the gear that was on it. Anything that was dropped will disappear, but gear on the corpse will still be there. However, there's another thing to be aware of, and another reason why breaking your head to retrieve your corpse is often not a good idea, is that if you put on gear to go retrieve your corpse, and then you die, imagine you have multiple corpses now with different gear on them. When you leave game and come back in, only one of your corpses will respawn in town. If you have 10 corpses, only one will respawn in town. And it won't necessarily be your first corpse. The game will calculate the gold value of everything that corpse has equipped, and it'll pick the highest gold value corpse to respawn in town with you. Any other corpses are lost, along with whatever gear they have. Now, that's not all that happens when you die. You also experience a couple penalties for dying. First off, you lose gold. If you're at least level 21, some fraction of your total gold in your stash and your inventory will just poof, disappear. If after this you still have gold left in your inventory, then no matter what level you are, the gold in your inventory will drop to the ground by your corpse. And again, anyone can pick it up then. That's why it's generally a good idea to stash your gold rather than keep it all on you at all times. This way, if you have to leave game in order to respawn your corpse, you don't lose all the gold that you dropped. Now, if you're playing on Nightmare or Hell difficulty, you will also lose experience when you die. In Nightmare, you lose 5% of the experience needed to reach the next level. So if you're level 79, then you will lose 5% of the XP needed to reach level 80. In Hell, it's 10%. Now, you can never lose a level. Your XP can never drop below the minimum required for the level that you are. But still, when you're over level 90, a few deaths can undo a huge amount of grind. However, if you retrieve your corpse without leaving the game, you will regain 75% of the XP you lost due to dying. You gain this back when you grab your corpse, so the risk is yours to take. Now, if you've selected to play a hardcore character, then, well, you don't really have to worry about any of this. When you die, your character's dead forever. If you are in a multiplayer party, then a party mate will be able to loot your corpse so long as you stay in the game. meaning whatever gear you had equipped, your party member or members will be able to grab those items off your body. Whatever was in your inventory, however, is lost forever. And if you leave game, your corpse and whatever items were on it will disappear forever. On to Chapter 10, Builds. Alright, we're getting close to being ready to play here. But what class do you pick? What build do you go for? I would encourage first-time players to just try out whatever they think is gonna be fun. Without following a build guide, you should be able to eventually manage to beat the game on normal at least. Once you get to Nightmare, you might start to struggle enough that, you know, maybe you'll even hit a wall that at that point you'll want to make a more optimized character. And again, Maxwell.gg has you covered with all the best build guides you'll ever need. So that said, once you're ready to make the most optimal starter character choice, the Sorceress is a really good option and will be the #1 thing that we recommend here. Because she is a caster, she's less gear dependent than attack builds. Remember, a level 20 Fireball does the same amount of damage whether you're wielding a weapon or not. Also, you're a more ranged character, so it's easier to avoid taking damage. You don't need to rely on really good gear to keep you alive in melee. And also the Sorceress has arguably the best skill in the game, Teleport. It's the best mobility skill, and it's such a great skill that many other builds will invest into getting gear that grants them the teleport skill. As for specifically what Sorceress build to run, Blizzard is a solid option. You only acquire Blizzard later in the game, however, so you'll be starting off with probably a different skill as your main damage source, something like Fireball, before eventually migrating to Blizzard. Again, you can find the build guides for all these builds that we're discussing here on Maxwell. If you really want to play a class that's not a Sorceress, the Paladin's Hammerton build is a close runner-up. It's basically the caster Paladin build. Blessed Hammer, tons of damage without being gear dependent, but it doesn't have that mobility without getting that Enigma rune word. Outside of that, if we're to recommend one build for each class, well, for Amazon, Lightning Fury build. Easy to learn, pretty easy to master as well, and it's the most powerful Amazon build in the game. I had a lot of fun with Boazons back in the day, but bow builds are much more gear dependent and thus not well suited for beginners. For the Assassin, the Lightning Trap Assassin is the most powerful assassin build in the game. You're throwing traps, that makes you a caster, you're not relying on attack damage, so again, not gear dependent. Overall beginner friendly. You'll be starting with fire traps before you move into lightning traps. For the Barbarian, well, we're talking about a character that is entirely based on attacks. However, the Warcry build is a funny and powerful build that has you basically yell at enemies until they die. This build can also stack a ton of magic finds, so that's going to help you farm up the gear you need for an attack build if you want to transition. For the Druid, the Wind Druid is the way to go. It casts Tornado and Hurricane, and it's actually highly versatile because it deals 2 base damage types, cold and physical, so it's quite rare with a Wind Druid to encounter an enemy that is fully immune to the kind of damage you're dealing. Lastly, for Necromancer, being a summoner is a lot of fun. A lot of people like that summoner archetype, and it's also arguably the easiest to play. You just let your skeletons attack for you, but because you don't have the agency of controlling those skeletons, it can be a slow build. It can take a while for your skeletons to go and kill the right things. An alternative would be the Bone Spear Necro, which has a much more engaging playstyle and is also beginner friendly. Alright, we're almost done here. Chapter 11, Options. This is a short one. The first thing I encourage all new players to do in any game is fully check out the options and settings that the game offers. To this day, I regularly get asked Diablo 3 questions about things that it's just in the game settings. Like, hey, how do you have that? Just go settings and check it to enable it. It's that simple. I guess games these days just dive you right in, and there's no need to really check out the settings, but it's really, really worth always fully exploring all the options that a game has to offer. So for D2R, go in there, mess around with your map settings, find whatever map setting you prefer, what works best for you. You can consider changing your key bindings. The default F keys are kind of awkward and not very ergonomic for most people. You can fully rebind any key anywhere. And even if you are a Diablo 2 veteran that is for whatever reason watching this video, I'd still encourage you to check out the options fully, because there are so many quality of life changes that have been added to D2R, like auto gold pickup as an option, not forced, that you just want to make sure you've seen them all. One thing I'll specifically highlight here is screen shake. On your first playthrough of the game, normal difficulty, keep screen shake on to get that nice effect. But then, if you want to play for efficiency purposes, it's best to just disable screen shake. That takes us to our final chapter, Chapter 12, Endgame. Nope, not the Avengers, but what do we do in Diablo 2 once you've beat the game on normal, and on nightmare, and on hell? What's next? Do we go on to mapping? Do we go on to rifts? No. This is a modern ARPG thing. Diablo 2 is from a time before any game had that stuff. What you're left with is just a sandbox where you gotta make your own fun. You gotta find your own activities to do. And don't worry, the community long ago established some good farming runs for different things, for farming XP and farming gear. They found some of the most optimal, best runs to do to level up as fast as possible and farm gear as fast as possible. So for XP, bail runs is a very common endgame activity. This consists of doing the final boss fight in the game, and it's very easy to find public games running bail runs. For grinding XP, it's really tough to beat bail runs. For gear, well, not your best choice, especially if you're running multiplayer, because, well, when bail dies, a bunch of items drop, and it's only the lucky few who manage to grab the ones that drop. Now, a typical bail run will start off with everyone in town, and then a sorceress or someone who has teleport via the Enigma rune word will get to bail as quickly as possible. Then when they get there, they open a town portal, and then sorceress, ones that die. XP, it's really tough, and it's very for XP to do. With is just we go on to rifts and on hell. Diablo 2. Nope, not the Avengers. Final chapter, Chapter 12, Endgame. Nope, not the Avengers. But what do we do in Diablo 2 once you've beat the game on normal, and on nightmare, and on hell? What's next? Do we go on to mapping? Do we go on to rifts? No. This is a modern ARPG thing. Diablo 2 is from a time before any game had that stuff. What you're left with is just a sandbox where you gotta make your own fun. You gotta find your own activities to do. And don't worry, the community long ago established some good farming runs for different things, for farming XP and farming gear. They found some of the most optimal, best runs to do to level up as fast as possible and farm gear as fast as possible. So for XP, bail runs is a very common endgame activity. This consists of doing the final boss fight in the game, and it's very easy to find public games running bail runs. For grinding XP, it's really tough to beat bail runs. For gear, well, not your best choice, especially if you're running multiplayer, because, well, when bail dies, a bunch of items drop, and it's only the lucky few who manage to grab the ones that drop. Now, a typical bail run will start off with everyone in town, and then a sorceress or someone who has teleport via the Enigma rune word will get to bail as quickly as possible. Then when they get there, they open a town portal, and then everyone else comes in to fight the final boss fight. Now, for farming item drops, you can run Mephisto, the Act 3 boss, or Andariel, the Act 1 boss, or Pindleskin, a special monster that you can find in Act 5 through the red portal by Anya, because he can drop almost any item in the game. You can even do a circuit of these three, Andariel, then Mephisto, then Pindleskin. It's also good to stack Magic Find gear when you're doing these kinds of runs, so long as you can afford to take on more Magic Find without losing kill efficiency. Remember, it's not about what items drop on that one time you kill Andariel, it's after you've killed her 20 times how many items have dropped. If you're hunting charms, you can do the secret cow level. That's also a good place to farm runes. Charms are special items that have random magic properties on them that you benefit from those properties just by keeping the charm in your inventory. By the end game, charms consist of a considerable chunk of your character's power, so don't underestimate the value of finding good charms. And you don't even have to be on hell difficulty. Nightmare cows can drop the best charms in the game, and by the same token, Nightmare Mephisto can drop a lot of the best in slot items in the game. Once you've completed a run, you exit game, start a new game, and go again. Now, another run that you can do that gives decent XP and items would be the Act 5 run that sees you kill Shank the Overseer and Eldritch the Rectifier. Eldritch can be found to the northwest of the Rigid Highlands waypoint, while Shank can be found to the southeast of it. These two monsters are guaranteed spawns, and you're guaranteed at least 4 items from them, 2 each, of at least magic quality. You can start doing this run as early as Nightmare, but you'd benefit a lot more by pushing through and doing it in Hell. You can also mix and match activities. For instance, if you're doing Bale runs while waiting for that one person to reach Bale, you can go and quickly kill Shank, Eldritch, maybe even you have time to kill Pindleskin. Now I'll finish by just quickly mentioning that there are 2 other endgame activities built into the game, and that will be fighting the Uber bosses as well as Diablo clone, but that is way beyond beginner stuff. Be aware that it exists, it's in your future, but it's a distant future. And that is going to wrap up this video. Congratulations on completing this course, Diablo 101. Your certificates are in the mail, and as a reminder, you can head on to maxroll.gg to find all kinds of Diablo 2 resources, guides put together by some of the top Diablo 2 players in the world. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more Diablo content.
Nice, that was good. We'll end it on that.